Good morning, everybody, and happy Tuesday. I know that sounds weird, right? Typically, we're on here every other Monday for our Motivational Monday for our nonprofit founders and executive directors. But I'm here today on Tuesday, had some important things I had to take care of yesterday, but I did not want to skip a week in providing content for those of you who follow on a regular basis. I want to thank you for tuning in this Tuesday to talk about a topic that I think is extremely important. But before we get into what we're going to be talking about today, I would like to introduce myself for those that are new to our channel, whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or on our YouTube channel, or even our Instagram followers. My name is Asia Nasir, and I am the founder of my consulting firm, Utopian Enterprise Business Solutions, where my mission as the founder is to help aspiring founders, existing founders, those just starting to fully fulfill their missions in real time. So that is not always an easy task to do, but through knowledge, through content like this, you're able to really be strategic and intentional about the moves that you're making with your organization, so that way you can make the impact that you want to make in the communities that you're looking to serve. So that is who I am, and that is what I've been doing since for a while now. So as I was mentioning before, every other Monday we come on and I provide some information, just some tidbits that can really change the game for your organization. And so today is no different. We're going to be talking about something that I find a lot of nonprofit founders, especially grassroots, are really struggling with, and that is they have great programs. You got great programs, but you're not getting the funding. You're not getting the funding that you need in order to sustain those programs to make the impact that you want to make in your communities. And so today we're going to be talking about how do you speak to those, grant funders, those corporate sponsors, and even individual donors. How do you talk to them? How do you speak their language to turn your program wins into donor support? So we got to make the connection. You got to take those wins. You got to take what's working within your programs and what you're offering, and how to make that connection to that grant funder, that corporate sponsor, or that individual donor. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. And as I usually do, I provide about 4 to 5 strategies. Today, I'm going to be providing about four strategies today to really help you kind of look at doing things different. And so we're going to get right into it. So strategy number 1 is really connecting, as I was talking about making the connection, connecting your program to the impact. A lot of times what we do is we talk about what the program is about. We provide youth programs. We provide women empowerment programs, right? Those things like that. Very vague, very vague. And while they're noble, and while these are great things, and yes, that is the mission, of what you do, it doesn't create the impact that would motivate someone to want to give money. So let me give you an example of what that looks like. So I'll use a youth program. We host weekly youth workshops. That's great. That gives the consistency, that talks about who the target audience is. However, it doesn't translate or make the connection to a grant funder, a corporate sponsor, or even an individual donor. What do those weekly programs for the youth do? So instead of saying we host weekly youth programs, what you can say is our weekly workshops have reduced school suspension by 30% in the last year. So you see the difference? You can still make the connection of your youth programs. You can still, make the connection of how often you meet, but now you're adding to it the impact that those weekly youth workshops do, So we host weekly workshops that has reduced, or we have hosted weekly youth workshops that has reduced school suspensions by 30% in the last year. So now that sentence has some meat to it. That sentence has, how has those weekly youth workshops impacted the youth that participate in your program? It has reduced school system. So that means your workshops have impact. It has transformation. It has change, right? That is what grant funders want to see. Grant funders, corporate sponsors want to say, is my money worth investing in this program? What has the results? So saying that you consistently do something, that's great. However, what is the impact? What is the change? What is the transformation? What is the eradication? All of the things that someone is going to say, is this worth me investing my money? That is what you want to be able to share with your grant funders. So make the connection from that weekly program, that weekly whatever it is that you're doing, that monthly thing. How is that impacting the community in which you're looking to serve? That is crucial. So what I want you to do is, when you look at all of your programs that you're providing, your key programs especially, look at your key programs and say, what has been the impact in these programs? Has it increased graduation rates? Has it reduced uh, has it reduced negative behaviors? Has it increased positive behaviors? And in what way? What increase has that had? Has the women, if you're providing vocational programs, what is the percentage of those people who have participated in your vocational programs obtain employment? What is the percentage? That is what you want to do. So I really want you to think about that. Really go back into your programs, your key programs that you're offering, the key programs that you want to keep sustainable, and then talk about, translate what those weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, whatever it is, and that target audience, what has been the impact, and then translate that into your statement that you're making on the grant applications, and conversation that you're having with corporate sponsors and individual owners, so that way they can see these programs that you're offering, these wins, are impactful. So now they know where the money's going, and how, if we're already doing this, with the funds that we have, and this is the impact that we've made already. Imagine if your donor support, how much more it can increase the number of people we can reach, the number of people we can transform, the number of people that we can elevate from their current status. So make the connection from your program, not just being a program, but the impact that the program is making. So that's strategy number one. Strategy number two is, sometimes we have a one size fit all mentality. We have this speech that we've studied, we've memorized. We're like, this is what we do. I'm going to, memorize this. And while that may be great when you're talking about your mission, and you're talking about, the start and what it is that you're wanting to eradicate and you're wanting to reduce in your community, that's great, because that way it just rolls off of your tongue. However, when we talk about impact and the programs that you're offering, and you want donor support, that one size fit all doesn't work. You have to tailor your message to the donor. Every donor has something that tugs at their heart, something that they are very passionate about. When it comes to like corporate sponsors really, as I was mentioning before, they want to know what the community impact is going to be. So while, yes, these individuals that are participating in your programs are, reducing this or increasing in a positive way, how is that impacting the community as a whole? So you have to tailor that conversation when you're speaking to a corporate sponsor. They want to know what the community impact is going to be. So if I'm going to give, right, to your nonprofit organization, how is my donation going to impact the community? That may be what their main concern is. So you have to tailor your delivery. You have to tailor that messaging about your programs to that. How is it impacting the community as a whole? Whereas someone that you're speaking to on an individual basis, looking to seek individual donations, they care more about the personal. You know what I mean? They care about the personal transformation. They care about the individual connection. How is your program connecting to, your target audience, and how is it changing their individual lives, right? They're not as concerned. I mean, of course, they know it's a ripple effect, but they really want to hear those those individual stories, the personal connections, the personal change. Whereas corporate sponsorship or even grant funding, they want the bigger picture. How is this affecting the community? How is this impacting the community? So you have to tailor your messaging to who you're talking to, and the one size fit all is not going to work, because you're going to be missing what they're passionate about. And so it's not going to resonate with them. They're going to be like, that's great. I love the work that you're doing. Keep it up. But you're not going to get that check. You're not going to get that donation. So what you want to do is you want to tailor it to who you're speaking to. If it is a corporate sponsor, find out what are their key things that they have supported in the past. What is their mission? Read their vision statement. What do they care about? And look for key words that they use that align with what your organization is doing, so that way you can speak their language. Literally speak their language, so that way they can see the alignment, the synergy with what they support and what it is that you actually do, and the impact that you're actually making in your community. So that's strategy number 2. Strategy number 3 is, and I said, we're visual. Most of us are visual people. We have analytical people. We have, those that, have to see. But the majority of us, we're moved by what we see. We're moved by what we see. So strategy number 3 is the power of visual storytelling. And this is so important, because sometimes you're not going to be able to have that sit down with someone, but they may want you to send them something. Social media may play a factor into your website, plays a huge role in this, where now you're talking about testimonials. That impact that we were talking about in strategy number 1, how has it impacted their life? How has it changed their life for the better? That's where you want those testimonials to come into play. How has your programming, how has their participation in what it is that you're offering has changed their life? In what way? As they say, hearing it from the horse's mouth, those testimonials are going to be crucial. Photos. A lot of times we put on events and we don't share that. We don't share those wins. And so you want support, and you're wondering why you're not getting support, is because people don't see the impact that you're making, those wins, those photos, to see those smiles, to see, that person graduated, this person passed to the next grade. Maybe you do literacy programs, and this person now is reading at reading level. Those photos that show the report cards and how it's impacted their life. Those photos are going to be really important into telling your story and how impactful your programs are. Videos are very important, right? Infographics. So if you're not sure what infographics are, I'll use a perfect example of that. I think everyone here, I could be safe to say everyone knows who St. Jude's Hospital is, right? They help thousands and thousands of children who are living with cancer, to help them to be able to hopefully, live past and get over and go into remission with cancer, right? They use a lot of infographics. Infographics is where, as you are speaking in the video, you're sharing statistics, information that people typically would not have. So you show what the issue is, the problem is, what it is that you're looking to do, and then the statistics of what you're doing and how you're making a dent in those statistics. Why this is a sense of urgency, right? So you're providing the information as you're speaking of the importance of supporting your program. So that's infographics on your video. It's actually being, placed on there. So it's really, really important that you do that. Look at, I want you to think of a personal trainer. What's one of the biggest impacts that makes someone want to go to a personal trainer and say, that's the person I want to have as my trainer? Their storytelling, their before and after photos, right? We see the before when they first get their client, and then we see the after photos of, the impact that their workshops, their diet plans, their meal plans, their workouts are having on that person. That's the biggest story. You haven't spoken to that personal trainer. You haven't had not a conversation, but that the power of visual storytelling told everything that you needed to know. I need to make that phone call. Translate that into your nonprofit. Show the before, when that person first started, the statistics of that person, what was happening, or, whatever the issue is that aligns with your mission. and they're living in that moment, they're in that space that's not good, which is why they're, seeking your programs. And now the after effect, right? That's what you need to do, is really show the data of what it is that you're doing through storytelling. A lot of us feel like we have to be shy and, oh, that's braggadocious. Look, you gotta get that out of your head. You got to get that information. You got to get that mentality out of your head. People cannot support what they don't know. If they don't know the impact that you're making in your community, they can't support you. They can't donate. So if you're struggling with donor support, that's probably because the majority and the masses don't know what it is that you're doing. They don't know the impact that you're actually making, and that's because you're not sharing those things. So report cards are really important. If you're working with youth, it's showing graduation. Those students that have come, they come from communities that graduation rates are really low. So now you're showing through your programs how many of those students, is it 80%, 70% of them have graduated, whereas the community statistics, less than 20 of them, graduate. That's showing the impact of your programs. So now when you're asking for donor support, they can say, oh, this is a winning program. This is a program that deserves support, because we can see the results, right? So don't be shy. Start sharing those photos, start sharing those videos, put infographics on your, not just in the content, but in the actual videos that you have. Share the statistics on there and what you're doing, the before and after information, those testimonials and short interviews. Sometimes you may ask someone right after your program or after graduation, what are your thoughts about this program? What would you say about this program? How has this impacted your life? Those small interviews, and share it. Share it on every social media platform. Share it on your website, right? Share it on your website, and then articulate that in your grant applications. Speak about that when you're having those one-on-one conversations with, individual donors and corporate sponsors. Share that information with them so that way they can see your programs are worth supporting. Okay, so that's strategy number 3. And strategy number 4, and this is so important, is a lot of times when we have the opportunity, a grant application, you're asking for the money. But when we have those one-on-ones, whether it's, putting up a story on social media, or we're talking one-on-one with a corporate sponsor, we're telling them all this great stuff, but we're not asking for the money. We're not asking for the funding. So if you don't ask, you just shared some great information, but you're not showing them how, what you need in order to sustain and keep these programs going, longevity. So you have to ask. And when you do ask, you have to make it an easy way to give. When someone, you got to give zero friction, I should say, zero friction for them to support. When you have asked and they're ready, their emotions are there, their support is there, you got to make it easy for them to donate. Give them a link. Right? Here's a link. You can go on there. Here's our website. Click that donate button. Make it easy for them, because when they're in the emotions and they're like ready to support and they want to give, make it easy for them to be able to give. Because when it becomes cumbersome, the emotion goes away, the excitement goes away, all of that becomes part of on the forefront of their mind is, this is too difficult. And all of that great stuff that you told them now goes in the back, kind of in the back of their mind, subconscious. You want the good feeling, that good information, to be able to have a ready, set, go button right there, ready for them to donate. So, those donate buttons, make sure you got it there on your website. Make it easy for them. If you have a link, if you have mobile giving, or if you have donor text campaigns and things like that, give them that link so that way they can go right into it and be able to donate. Make it easy for people to be able to support your organization. And I have to tell you, if you're a grassroots nonprofit, invest in a website. When you start telling people that you are a credible nonprofit organization, that you're a 501c3, and you start telling them, oh, hit up my Cash App or hit up our GoFundMe page, while those are reputable, options, it kind of loses the credibility of your organization. You should have a website. If you are a nonprofit organization, it doesn't have to be a glamorous website, just enough information to give them the who, what, where, when, and why, and who you're about. That's what you want on your website. So that way you can have that donate button and tell them to go right there. So that way they can see you as a credible, have those texts that leads them back to your organization. Right. So you want to have an, ready, set, go. When they're ready to give money, make it easy for them to do so. So you want to make sure also, and this is crucial. This is not part of the strategies that I had. So I had those 4 strategies there for you, but this is really important. Make sure, and this is one of the number one reasons why you may have a great program and you're not being supported, or you're like, that person was giving and they're not giving anymore, or we don't get repeat donors. Ask yourself, are you following up with a thank you? I can't say it enough. One of the number one reasons why people do not donate is because they weren't appreciated for the first one. And there it is. They're not appreciated for the first donation that they made. So they're like, well, they didn't even appreciate what we gave them. Why would you give more? Right? So follow up with a thank you. Follow up with a thank you. If it was a corporate sponsor, make sure that it's handwritten. You have to give them your generic thank you that has your tax ID information and all of that stuff. But sometimes when you have those one-on-ones, you want to send a handwritten thank you, letting them know, look, I'm taking time because we really appreciate that donation. We really appreciate that donation. And one other way is keep a calendar. Keep a calendar of a 60-day update and then a 6-month update of where their money has gone. I can't tell you enough. My nonprofit organization received 2 years of funding from White Castle, the family-owned business. Of people think it's a franchise, but it's a family-owned business here on the East Coast. They gave us money for 2 years. We had grant funding for 2 years. And you know why? It was only supposed to be one. It was only supposed to be for 1 year. And you know why they opted to give my nonprofit organization, Jessica Cares, money for a second year? Is because of what I just said. We followed up with thank yous. We followed up with 60-day updates. We followed up with 6-month updates, and then the annual update of what their money actually did for Jessica Cares. And then what they did was, when it was time for them to choose another one, they said, we want to support you again. And you think we said no? Absolutely, we took that. So we had 2 years of funding that really made an impact in the programs and the things that we were able to do. So I can't stress enough for you, the updates is extremely important. So if you have a newsletter, if you have, if you're just sending out blast emails, but you gotta update your donors and letting them know the impact of their money. The donations, the contributions, the grant money, you want them to know, so that way they can continue when you want to reapply for a grant, when you want to ask for another corporate sponsor, or you want to pitch for a personal donation or create a recurring donation situation with an individual donor. That's the way you do it. That's the way you do it. So that is what I wanted to share with you. If you're struggling with, getting your programs funded, take a look at the 4 strategies that I share with you today. That might be the key to why you're not getting it. So really, the key one that I really want you to take away, if you took nothing else aside from the thank yous and the follow-ups, is make the connection. Make the connection from your programs, not just saying we offer these type of programs on a weekly basis, but what is the impact of your programs? Those recipients, how many of them have, what is the results? What's the data? You want to make sure that you're communicating that. So before we go, I wanted to share that we have here at Utopian Enterprise Business Solutions, we have a virtual nonprofit symposium coming up on August 16th, which is a Saturday. And we're going to have expert speakers talking from grant writing to campaigns, to leadership, to board development, volunteer management, to corporate relationships. Marketing strategy. How do you get that out there? How do you tell your story in a way that's going to create funding? So it's going to go on a deeper level, and it's virtual, so you can get this information from the comfort of your home or from the comfort of your office, whichever one. You don't have to travel. This is just information that's going to be poured into your nonprofit organization that you can build on. So I'm going to put the link here in the comment section, so that way you can go right over and be able to get the secure your spot. You're going to be able to get the link, and there it is. It's right there in the comment section. It's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, it's right here on Lingo. So this is information that is going to be extremely important to you, to be able to participate in this virtual nonprofit symposium. We had one before, we hosted one before, and it was amazing. So you want to make sure that you get that link, so that way you can participate, you can show up, you can be there, you can obtain the information, and then grow your nonprofit and fulfill your missions in real time. So that is what I wanted to share with you today. I hope that this information was beneficial to you. If you want to get one-on-one, you're looking at your organization and saying, I'm not sure, what I need to do different, or how I can reword what it is I'm doing, and you need some assistance on how you can reword to capture those grant funders' attention, you can reach out to me for a one-on-one consultation, and I'll leave my email here for you as well. So I just put my email address on here, so that way you can obtain that and set up a one-on-one consultation, so we can work and customize your statements to show the impact, and maybe look at some strategies that you could be doing differently to help your nonprofit organization be able to get the funding that it deserves for those programs that are winning. So again, I'm just putting up the link for the nonprofit symposium coming up on August 16th. Make sure you tune in. It's going to be invaluable information for you and your nonprofit organization. So see you in a couple of weeks, God willing.